I'm Susie Botello, host of the SBP podcast, Mobile Filmmaking, and you're listening to episode 144. Hey, we've got the winner. This is how we're going to start. Levi Austin Morris, the winner of the best feature film in the universe at the International Mobile Film Festival.
Yeah.
How are you?
Woo. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I am stoked.
I mean, you know, it's been a journey for both of us. Like, our relationship together is like my short films and then and now having the feature. And yeah, it's been a cool sort of arc and trajectory, I think, with the International Mobile Film Festival. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, just so that the people know, I have no influence whatsoever. Now, I'm not saying, oh, that sucks that Levi won. I'm not saying that.
I hope not.
No, not at all. But it was like I had no influence whatsoever. And the judges, right? The judges, I literally informed them, and they know, like the ones that are repeat judges, they know they're not allowed to talk to each other. They're not allowed to share, even with their wives or husbands or dogs, really. They're not allowed to discuss it in any shape or form. They're not allowed to get influenced.
Okay.
You know,
I love that.
You know, it's been something back when I started the film festival that I researched, and it's always been like that. It's like, nope, you are not allowed to talk. And because
no biases.
Yeah, because otherwise it would be, here's a group of people, you know what I mean? And I don't sit down with them. I don't discuss it. And some of them have said, okay, now that we're done, can I discuss?
Can we talk about it?
And I'm like, wait for the rest so that I'm not influenced. But yeah, it's definitely, and they don't know themselves, by the way.
Sure, they don't. Yeah, because they've only done their own thing,
each film themselves, so they don't know who's gonna win or not. I mean, they can guess. They could go, I'm sure everybody's gonna pick this one, and then they're wrong.
Sure.
No, I'm just kidding. But
and then they're wrong.
But yeah, I was really, how would they say, keenly surprised.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, I thought, because it was such a close call. In my taste, there's some really good virtues to your film, and there's some really good virtues to the other film by the other filmmaker, the other competition. But I'm just like, well, because I already know Levi, and I know all the work that you've put into this.
Sure.
You had multiple locations, all the special effects. You were very intricate, very dedicated to every tiny little aspect of it. The work that you did with the props, all the art. You also acted in it. So let's talk.
It was a lot.
Yeah,
let's
talk about that. What all did you put in to this film?
I did all the storyboarding. I did the shot list. I made a lot of the props with my producer Jamie, who you now have met and adore because she's incredible.
Yes.
So like, and then acting, I wrote the script, and like there were things that I wasn't pleased with in the script while we were shooting. So I was rewriting while we were shooting.
That's so typical. If you care, right?
It's a lot. And then, even the massive painting that hangs over her bed at the end of the film, in an earlier draft of the film, there was a scene where she comes into the room and finds me painting it, and it wasn't done. And so during shooting, and it wasn't supposed to be done at that point, and it's not revealed until the end what the painting looks like. But I ended up cutting that scene, and then it's in a flashback that shows up in the film. But I was painting that painting throughout filming as well. So we would finish shooting, and then I'd go home and I'd paint for a few hours, and then I'd come back the next day. And it's just because it needed to have that sort of progression in the film where it wasn't done, and then it was almost done at the very end. So, so there was a lot. There was a lot that went into this.
Because, it's a lot of work just being on set. The production part is exhausting for the most part.
But it's so fun. Like,
well,
I love being on set.
But it's like you get this real big high energy thing during production, and then when you're going home type thing, I mean, I've been on sets where it's like, okay, now I'm alone, I'm driving back, and it's like coming down, you know what I mean? And you just want to chill, relax, and revamp for the next day.
Yeah, and I did not have that. So
that's why I'm like, wow.
I mean, lessons were learned, and I'm super proud of the film. I'm like, I think.
Well, it's over, right? Like the pain part is over. Like you.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say you suffered through it, but there were times when it was like,
for my art.
Yes, but there was times when you could have said, I mean, I do this a lot where I'm going, just get through it. Like you commit yourself, right? And then you go, damn, I'm not in the mood for this right now, actually, because you can't predict your mood and other things that happen, and there you are. And see, that takes, that's passion right there.
Like this was 100% fueled by my passion and the passion of those around me who saw my passions, and, so it was absolutely a group effort, but it was also like, I would say the driving force was my own passion for the project. So
to see it through.
To see it through. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit just to get this out of the way.
Sure.
How was the film festival experience this year for you?
Oh, it was so fun. It was so fun. We ended up leaving. I might have messaged you this. I don't remember. But when we were leaving, both Jamie and Allison were like, that felt like camp. Like it felt like we came together for the weekend as filmmakers, and we just had camp. And it was like we met the other campers, and like it was just so fun, and it was so intimate, and it was so like we really got to connect with every other artist that was there. And I will say, like, having gone to other film festivals, that was very unique to this festival. Really getting to bond with the other filmmakers.
That was something that other, like when you hear it from different people that don't know who said what.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On my end, that was very, very, there were people there, even people who just bought a ticket, but they happened to be in the industry. They weren't part of the.
Yeah, there was that gentleman at the very end at the second day who he had no connection to the festival. He just bought a ticket. Yep. I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah. He came up to me and said the same thing. He was like, I'm from so and so. I moved to, I think he said here or LA, and he just.
His name was Ben, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ben or Ken, I can't remember.
I think it was Ben.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I'm doing thinking now. I think. But he was telling me, I've been to so many film festivals, and I mean, he named a lot of film. He didn't name each one, but he gave me a number that was pretty high up there. I was like, wow, did you like break a record? And he said, I've just never experienced the intimacy that I experienced here, and the energy and the connection with everybody.
Yeah.
And so that is.
And I think that was universally felt, like, by everybody. I mean, Chelsea and I have been texting and messaging on Instagram, and Ricky, I have plans to go see his girlfriend in a musical with him up here in LA. So it's genuinely like made connections that I'm excited about. So
I feel like from my end, because I'm also the director, right?
Yeah.
And so there was so much happening that I had to coordinate with people, and we had people helping out that had never been there before. It was their first time, so I really needed, and they really needed, some guidance from me.
Yeah.
And I don't mind doing things myself. I've done so much myself, and it's different when you're assigning someone else the things that you do, at the same time. But, I feel like had it not been for Friday, the kickoff, I probably wouldn't have had a chance to really hang out with you guys.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel like that was really the first, like, I mean, when we all first came together, like that was the most I think that you and I were able to sort of chat, and then afterwards it felt like you were doing a lot of coordinating and stuff. But it was really nice. Like that kickoff was really fun and exciting. Like I remember walking in and meeting Arafili, and like
I was literally, a lot of people, a lot of founders go, "Oh, they can't wait to introduce you to everybody," but I literally did.
You literally introduced us
Yes.
to everybody, including a dog named Walter.
I know.
like, yeah. So like, it was a good time. It was super fun. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it this time more than ever, and I always do. You were there last year too, and
I was.
I just
Yes.
love the heck out of my own film festival.
Yeah.
Because
You should. It's unique and it's fun,
yeah.
and it's like people who, despite the odds, are like, I'm gonna make a film and it's gonna be good.
I just cherish. I wouldn't do it if. I mean, my love for filmmakers over the years has got. I've opened up more and more to just flaunt it. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Say, I love you guys, and I just and I think it's when social media is social media, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody's
Yeah.
like, oh, but not everybody, but you know what I mean. It's easier
Yeah.
to just do that and then turn it off and you're done, right?
Yeah.
But in person, I'm always, I think it's more evident in person,
Yeah.
how I feel about people. And I think you see it in the way that I hope anyways, that I'm taking care of everybody during the film festival. I mean, I can't give everybody caviar and roses.
No,
Not yet.
I don't think anybody wants that. Like, yeah, like no. I mean, I hope that you felt that love right back, because for
totally
all of
did.
us, it was just a very fun, exciting atmosphere to be in, and like to like to be there with Chelsea and ET and their group. That was, I think they had said it was their first public screening.
Yeah. It was
to
their
sort
first film festival experience, I think.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like, and like for all of us to get to experience that with them, but also then the support that we all gave each other. Like, it was very exciting, like every film, the hooting and hollering, because we intimately knew everybody, like we had a chance to eat lunch together and chat for an hour and then go back to the festival. So it was like we really got to know each other.
Yeah, the support for each other was awesome.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Well, and then of course Sunday was wild.
Yes.
It was wild. It was crazy. It was, and guys, I mean this in a good way. I'm not trying to scare our listeners.
Yeah.
It was really fun. Sundays usually, Saturday everybody wants to come and see their film together, and this year I think I stuck to that plan just mainly on Saturday. And then we opened up with the rookies, on Sunday, which was great.
And I will say, like, I commented today on, I don't remember the person's name, the one who did the robot, the one that won with Kelly. The robot, Kelly. I commented on her post because, like, all of the rookie films were so good. Yeah. Like, they were so fun. Like Ricky's music video and Chelsea and ET's and then the robot, like they were all just so interesting. So yeah, it was just really fun to see these non-rookies be rookies, because they were too good to be rookies. Like,
yeah, well, cool. It's their first, it's their first step in. And a lot of people I've noticed, I think what it does, especially if they come to the festival, because then they really get to see the other films, and they get to see the short film competition as well, and meet everybody and feel more comfortable. But what it really does is it builds up their confidence, because I think some people from my end, right, this is the second year we've had the rookies, right?
Okay.
And the behind the scenes chatter with me and the filmmakers who want to submit films, and they submit them to the rookies category, is like, well, I'm not sure I feel comfortable like my film is that good enough to be in the regular competition. Because our regular short film competition has gone up. Like, we expect way more now after our 11th, 10th, 12th year. We expect more from people who are submitting short films. We're done with the whole thing of, well, because you shot it on a phone and you've never shot a film before. We're like, no, we want you to share some really awesome films now, and we expect that.
And I mean, even I was talking about it with Hector, because Hector was basically the jack of all trades on our set, and he was there on Saturday, and we were talking about how stunning some of the cinematography, like in, I don't remember what it was called, but the black and white one, that opening shot with the fog and the field and the bike was so just
Juju.
Stunning. Yes, it was stunning. Juju with the shoes and the it was like there were some just gorgeous shots, and like the time one.
Yes, the one Elizabeth Marlowe. Oh my God, I'm pulling up the names out of like. They're famous.
But the cinematography was so beautiful. On the beach with the sunset, like
It reminded me of your first film, the one that you submitted to.
Actually, 90 Seconds to Live. So it was so exciting to see that, and like, because I remember my first film, and granted, this was not the rookie category, right. But watching the short films, I was just like, gosh, like the growth of not only people and like their artistry, but like even just the phones, because my first films were shot on an iPhone 4, and I almost reposted it the other day, and just to say, like, my God, I've come a long way.
Yes. And see, for me, I've seen it, and not only with you, but with other filmmakers as well.
Yeah.
You know, and Elizabeth I think this is the second time that she was in our film festival.
Okay.
I think it was in 2020 that she was in our film festival, if my memory. Usually my memory does really good, but I'm totally just remembering this right now. Ananke Films, Film Productions, or something like that, what her company is. But the growth so there's three types of growth, right? There's the filmmaker who is continuing to experiment and make films, right? Mm-hmm. The technology itself that is getting better and better and better. Yep. And then the growth of mobile filmmaking on its own, with all the resources that people have now compared to before. I mean, look, Conrad Mess, going back to the beginning, Conrad Mess, his first film, which was in 2011, right? It was the very first film. I
totally watched that, by the way.
And remember, he shot that with an iPhone 4.
Yeah.
And that film holds up today. Yeah. Because he was meticulous with it. Yeah. And the other films that he shot, 4S and things like that, they still hold up today. So you don't have to have the latest technology.
No, you don't. Yeah. I mean, the T was shot on an iPhone 6.
Yeah. And oh man, I still love that film. So all these films from the past, right? And now you're kicking it up more and more and more each year, which is something that doesn't happen with traditional cameras, obviously, because they just come up with one, there's a limit to the brands of cameras that people use for cinema.
Yeah.
They're not 20.
I mean,
it's really just a handful, right, that people normally purchase. And they cost a lot of money. But you can't go and say, well, this $20,000 camera, I'm going to buy the upgrade each year. you know what I mean?
Not a chance.
Now with the phones.
Not unless you're Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's an exception. But when it comes to smartphone cameras, there are new smartphone cameras, smartphones with cameras, throughout the year. It's not like once a year. It's like, I mean, you could go now to the Sony if you wanted to. You could go to Samsung. You could go to, I mean, any of those. There's some other ones that I can't remember their names that are not mainstream.
Google Pixel.
Well, yeah, there's
like
OnePlus, but there's Xiaomi or something like that. There was one in our film festival that was shot with that. That was pretty good too.
Okay.
But there's different brands and there's some, because our film festival is international.
Yeah.
So there are cameras available, say in Asia, that are not popular here at all. I don't even know if you can get them here, but they're different. And they're still really good.
Building off what you're saying, with the international aspect, like that's something that people on my team also commented on, is like, we've been to film festivals where they're like, oh yeah, this is an international film festival, and you'll see like 1 or 2 films from other countries. But this one, genuinely, like, it was like, you know, there's another one that took place on the beach, and I don't know, but I mean, from the writing, I thought maybe it was in Greece. But there were so many films from other countries that I was just like, I love this. I love that we're really, like, I mean, the documentary about the kid going off to college was a beautiful film as well, you know? So
yeah. That's the one, Family. That's the one that won
Family.
third place.
Yeah.
They were, and you know, these films, you know, they all had good audio. Because, I mean, that's one of the main criteria, is the good audio and a good story, you know, those things. The really cool thing is, I mean, the really interesting thing, I should say, is, Levi, this has been the first year we get more filmmakers from LA than ever before.
Good. That, like, actually come down, or just who submitted?
Just, well, between submitted and actually coming.
Cool.
Yeah.
I hope that continues, because it was so fun to meet people from LA and know that, like, I get to meet, you know, like Jason, for instance, who composed for Help Wanted. Like, he's somebody that, like, I plan on keeping in touch with,
he was so
like,
awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool that like so many LA people were there.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is now, you know, mobile filmmakers from LA have a home in San Diego, which, you know, the best tacos again. It's
You really love those tacos.
The fish tacos. I'm really in love with fish tacos, but I'm fish anything. But yeah, the whole experience was really, it was very unique this year, from my perspective, because in previous years, from year one, like the very first year, we had this really young guy. I mean, he was like a teenager. He wasn't like a teenager. He was a teenager.
Sure.
He came from Macedonia.
Oh, wow.
Like, I literally had to look that up, you know, where he was from on Google. I was like, where is that? And he came to San Diego. That was our very first film festival. And he came
That's
to
amazing,
that.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And I remember, you know, we did I did a thing in the welcoming for Mr. Sneed, my instructor, who passed this last year. And one of the things I said to him, I said, I've already get enough, you know, people from San Diego or from LA, or, you know, just locals, right? And he said, Susie, that's a good thing, though, you know? He said, there are bunches of film festivals here. And, you know, even the San Diego Film Festival was more local between here and LA. And he said, you know, there are many film festivals that wish they had international films. And I said to him, and I said, you know, the thing is, when I first, and I'm saying this to you, obviously, now too, when I first made the call for films, right? It was the whole world, any human in the world, right? Yeah. And it was international, right, from the start, because it was like, if you're anywhere in the world, you have access to a phone, share your story, make a movie. And I knew, because I'd grown up in Spain, I lived in Italy and places like that, internationally, people look to here, you know, the United States, as, you know, movie haven. Sure. You know, like, oh, it's all about movies here. Of course, although it seems like we're living in a movie,
Yeah.
especially now.
Yeah.
But and we see them, you know, in from our perspective is different, but for them it's like, oh, America, you know, the dream, the movies, you know, things like that, especially California, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Hollywood. Like, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're here, we're like literally next door.
Yeah.
So the international part has always been a thing, and at first it got to a point where I was just taking it for granted. Of course we're going to get international films and things like that. But I think it's after COVID, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think people like being locked up in their house for a year and a half, you know, to 2 years, like absolutely it sort of inspired people to like, what can I do? You know, how can I create still? And I think a lot of people absolutely discovered mobile filmmaking at that time.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's what has opened up. But it's such a great way because, I mean, if there's one thing, one positive thing that happened from that horrible time is the fact that people said, well, you know what? I've got so much time in my hands. I'm just going to go ahead and try this
Yeah.
thing out that people are
Yep.
talking about, and did it and tried it. And
Yeah.
I mean, Jennifer Zhang with Sharon,
Yeah. Yep.
her movie, I mean, it just like skyrocketed. It went
Yeah.
viral and all. I mean, that came from the pandemic. You know, like, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to make a movie with my iPhone. Of course, she went
Yeah.
all out on that, and it was pretty awesome. All right, let's go back to your wins, because now you're ready for Netflix.
I appreciate it, Susie. I appreciate your support in that direction. I mean, we still have a number of festivals we're waiting to hear back from.
Yeah.
We're gonna be in the festival circuit probably until the end of 2023. But I definitely would love to get some sort of distribution deal. If like Netflix, they're very specific about what cameras you can use, so I don't think they'll accept, unfortunately.
I think you know, at the same time that the so a lot of things happen in parallel to each other. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think they've got competition with other streaming services now that they didn't realize they had a few years ago.
Sure.
And
yeah.
at the same time, the films, your film literally was good enough to be on Netflix. I've got Netflix, and I watch
I appreciate
Netflix,
that.
and I'm looking at them going, some of these films really they're not that good.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
But your film could definitely be on Netflix and fit in there just fine. And at the same time, you could definitely be on Amazon Prime and on Tubi and all of those things.
Yeah.
And I think Netflix needs to step up a little bit. They do a lot of international films.
Yeah.
But just because they're on Netflix does not mean that they're good. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, there's sort of the oversaturation that's happening on a lot of streaming services right now, where they're just sort of funding things that, you know, everything. And then some things are good and some things are not. And so, yeah, I absolutely see that on Netflix. I see things that I really enjoy, and then I see things that I'm like, God, that was a struggle to finish.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of the oversaturation. And then I think indie filmmakers, specifically if they're passionate indie filmmakers who are, you know, I don't know, telling meaningful stories to themselves, like stories that mean something to them, you can see that passion and you can see that in their work. And so I think that those tend to resonate more.
Because I think the consumers, right, the people who watch the films,
yeah,
are more open.
They can feel that.
Yeah, they're more open ever since, I think it's because of the streaming, that they're more open to independent films.
Yeah.
That I don't know who those actors are, but I'm going to go ahead and watch it because, man, that poster is really cool.
Yeah. Especially in the horror genre, horror fans will watch anything. If it's bad, they're going to love it because it's bad. If it's
Campy
good,
films.
yeah. If it's good, they're going to love it for those reasons. And so like, I'm excited to see the legs that we can get with Paralysis, with, streaming, maybe Tubi, maybe Shudder, maybe, whatever we can get. And
just don't
yeah,
sell yourself short,
Oh no, I very much like, we have some emails and stuff already, and so we have a plan of attack, and I'm hoping that we can use, negotiation between, like, oh well, this is the offer we're getting here, can you counter that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Play it like Peter Jackson did with The Lord of the Rings. You know the story. So I was telling Jed about this actually. By the way, everybody, Jed Brophy came to the film festival,
which was very cool. My lead actress was beyond herself. She is the biggest Lord of the Rings fan, and
it was so cute.
She was, it was so fun to watch that.
Yeah. Well, so Peter Jackson, I saw him in it. The only reason that I even wanted to watch The Lord of the Rings is because of the backstory that there was a late night interviewer guy. I don't remember his name. It's not like I watched it all the time. It was some cable show. And he was interviewing, Peter Jackson. And he was telling him, Peter was telling this guy about how he got the distribution for his film. And he was saying basically that they weren't getting lucky at all. Like they were failing big time. I guess he had come out here to do that, to get distribution, to get the films, to cut a deal, and it was just falling through. So what he did was he had scheduled meetings, right, with these networks or studios or whatever it was, and he said basically he pulled a fast one on the one that he sold it to, because he pretended that he had a deal already with the previous one.
Oh, yeah.
And then he went to them and they accepted it. Otherwise, he says, we would have completely failed, because both of them would have turned us down.
Smart. That's smart. Absolutely.
So I guess you got to hustle, Levi, is what I'm trying to say.
I feel like this industry, you're always kind of hustling.
Yeah.
So
you got to know how to do that. And if not, it's always worth hiring somebody who knows.
Yes.
Yeah. Your Seed and Spark campaign.
Yeah.
Okay, so you really were successful with that, but I think I just want you to spend maybe 5 minutes sharing with everybody your strategy for that, because I think it was not only very successful, but I saw people in the audience that came that were part of your campaign, the funders.
Yeah, that was really exciting.
And
actually,
you brought candy for them.
I did. Yes. I did. I was like, did I? But yes, I did. Yeah. The Seed and Spark campaign, it was, that's how we funded our movie, and we split it into two things. I talked a little bit about this in the workshop that we led as well, because a lot of the other filmmakers had questions about it. But we did the production campaign first to raise the funds for just production costs. And the big thing, though, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due, because Seed and Spark has so many videos on YouTube of how to make a successful campaign. And I am somebody, like, even when I write scripts, I deep dive into research to make sure that I'm, doing the best script that I can do. And so when we were doing the campaign, I deep dove into those videos, and I went on Indiegogo and Kickstarter and other Seed and Sparks, and I was looking at other campaigns and seeing ones that were successful and ones that weren't. And so it was like really about understanding, I guess, how to market our film, how to get people excited about our film, but also how to authentically, in my own voice, because I feel like I'm a little bit playful, but I'm also incredibly professional and driven. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to show that in the videos, so there's a level of humor in our pitch videos that I wanted to incorporate, not because our movie's funny, because it's not, but because it's just this is who's making the film. Please trust us.
And still, it's entertainment.
And still,
horror is entertainment.
Yeah, as opposed to I've seen a lot of pitch videos where it's just somebody hi, I'm the filmmaker. let me tell you about the film we want to make. And it's just sort of them talking at you. So, yeah. So, I mean, we really worked hard on that, on trying to just be authentic and genuine in it, so that and transparent, so people knew where their money was going. Because I think a lot of campaigns, also, they don't really break down where all the funding is going, and so people are like, do they really know where they're gonna put this money toward? And we were very specific, down to the dollar, like, oh, $548 is going to this, so
I
it
can
was
tell you
like,
the people that were there, they were like your family.
I mean, I definitely feel very close with actually everybody who was there. I do feel close with, um, and they were the people who contributed. But there are other people that and that's kind of what I talked about a little bit in the workshop as well. Is the people who are going to be funding your movie? Yeah, you might get some stragglers, some strangers, some out of your networks, and we definitely got those. But for the most part, these are going to be people who are connected to somebody on the project. And so there are some people that I don't know, but I know somebody in our project knows them. And so it's like there's an emotional connection already, but it really is about inspiring them to want to be a part of the journey and see this film go from nothing
and that's why they're
to
there.
Yeah, and that was so exciting
It's a
to share
community.
with them.
It is. There is a community that become members of, whether it's Kickstarter or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the theme of that platform, and they're there because they thrive on this. The idea of basically being a patron in a way, right? Because they get to help someone create something,
realize their dream.
Yes, and create something from scratch in a way, right? And they want to, it's like when you pay a when not everybody's like this, but I love to walk up to a stranger and I immediately spot something really cool about them, and it could just be a shirt. It could be their shoes. It could be the way they smile, whatever it is, and I point it out. Just complete strangers. Wow, what a beautiful da da da, or I love the way you laugh, or something like that. And you know what? People glow when you do that.
Oh, they do.
And that gives it right back to you.
Doing that at the festival. I witnessed that happen, where you walked up to somebody and you complimented their scarf, and then it started a conversation, about travel and where they'd been. And so but yeah, it's like it creates a connection and an environment, and
and and again, it gives back to that person, because having that connection with someone through a compliment is way better than some other connection through some other things, some other way.
You suck.
Yeah, right.
That's
it's
not
like,
a good
oh,
connection.
great. So,
but I mean, that's also not lost on me. I will say, with the two campaigns we held, and knowing where I started, with that script, starting it during COVID, and I would lock myself away for hours and just write and obsess over this script. And so to go from that to a completed hour, 47-minute film that is being praised, is being not, that's not the right wording, but is being celebrated and is being enjoyed. It feels incredible, but I know that this would not have happened without all of those people who contributed,
Yeah. And you said the key word there, because it's one of the most important things that we do. And something I emphasize when I'm marketing our film festival is we're celebrating you. A lot of film festivals celebrate the films. I tend to, and you know this by now, I tend to celebrate the people behind the films, because I'm inspiring them. I'm hoping to inspire them. And I'm hoping for you all to inspire each other to continue making films. Yes.
And that, I will say, is definitely a difference between various festivals that I've been to, is it feels like with your festival, it's very much well, this is just a step on your journey, you know,
Yeah.
like there will be new films. You'll make another film, you know, and you know, for some people maybe they will, for some people maybe they won't.
But either
But
way,
for
they're going to
me,
have a
yeah,
blast during this
exactly.
one time.
Yeah.
Now, for you, when right after the screening of your film, I can't, the preparation for the screening of your film was fun. So it's, people were coming in and sitting down. The people from your campaign, your funding campaign, were coming in. They
Yeah.
sat together,
Yeah.
and you were handing them the candy. I just thought that was the
Yeah.
cutest thing. And then
I felt bad though because I didn't bring candy for everybody in the
well, like
audience.
me,
So
where's
like,
my gummy bears? But no,
yeah.
I was just, that was that was their specialty, and that was how they
Yeah.
made them feel special, and that was
Yeah.
awesome. And then I introduced you, which I have to admit, Levi, I tend not to write scripts because then I get nervous.
Sure.
And one of the things that I did with that is I thought I did a pretty good job introducing you with my little comedic little puns, actually.
What,
Well,
remind
because
me what you said.
I can't
It
tell
was
you
all a
exactly
whirlwind,
because
Susie.
it wasn't.
all a whirlwind.
Yeah, it wasn't a complete
Yeah.
script. But I remember saying something about the paralysis and will leave you paralyzed or something like, and little things like that were really corny, but everybody really laughed and
Yeah.
thought that was really good. And it made it seem like I had the speech planned out, like a comedian does, right? When they're doing their thing. And then you came up there and you introduced and got everybody ready for your film. All of that prepared everybody for the film. All of that psychologically got everybody to feel like, okay, here we go. We're coming in. It's like that Star Wars
Excellent.
ride. You know
I'm
what I mean?
glad to hear that.
Where they show you things outside while you're waiting in line, and you're getting your juices flowing, and then all of a sudden lights come off, your film comes on, and I mean, remember the comments, don't go there. Don't open the door. I mean, you were sitting in the back. I was sitting in the back with you. And I know that you were getting such a big kick out of the reactions to your film.
Yeah, it was really exciting. I will say, because we've been in another festival and we did well at that festival as well. But it was like when we were there, it was a pretty silent audience. And so the entire time when we were at the other festival, I was like, I don't know if people are enjoying this.
It was a big. That's something that happens in theaters too.
Yeah, and it was in a like a
space.
A big. Yeah, it was, and so I was feeling a little anxious, and so that's why I was so anxious going into this one, and that's why I was like, I need to sit in the back just so I can like be away from people if I need to get up and pace, because like, like every artist is very sensitive about their art. And so like I just needed some distance. But like there were, I mean, within the first 5 minutes, like even after the title screen, people were so responsive. And then it just got bigger and bigger, and it was so fun. Like, I remember you walking up and you're like, are you recording these reactions? And I wasn't, but then I pulled my phone out and I started to record the reactions because it was so fun to hear everybody. I've
seen it in old movies where they have the they're in the theater and it's completely packed. And everybody's watching like some old black and white movie, and everybody's like cheering on and all these things. So it made it feel really like, oh, we all know each other. We all felt comfortable with each other. And it was meant to be that way. You created this film in a way to have those reactions. It wasn't like...
Yeah, and it was so exciting to feel that. It was so exciting to feel that. Yeah. And then actually, Allison, my lead actress, who has seen this movie multiple times at this point, but she hasn't seen it since the last film festival, which is, I think it was December.
Yeah.
But Jamie came up to me at the end and she's like, so Allison got scared in our own movie because she forgot one of the scares. And so when it happened, I guess she was like, and Jamie was like, are you serious? Like, you were there, you acted that, so yeah.
Well, and you become really connected to the energy in the room. where
Yeah.
you're all feeling it together.
Yeah.
And
It was
then
really exciting.
at the end of the film, wow, everybody just surrounded you guys.
Yeah, it was very intense, but it was really exciting. Like it was a good time.
Yeah. And they did that,
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, guys. They did this for everybody.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
film that they showed, everybody
Yes.
was very, how should I say,
Supportive.
reactive to the films and supportive and would just surround the filmmakers after.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we started the day with the other feature and everybody was sobbing.
yeah,
Like it was
I know,
like
even me.
like that. I think that really set
Yeah.
the tone for the day though, where it was like, we started with that and it was just like we all got in there, we all were emotionally there. And so it was a fun way to start the day because it just felt like it just built throughout the day, like and everybody was excited to see what everybody else created.
Yeah, Christine came up to me and said something about that, about the bookends, starting the festival with one feature and then ending it with the other.
Yeah, that was very smart. That was very smart.
Well, I don't know. I try to be a little bit smart sometimes. Yeah, and then breaking up the shorts because now they're longer. But breaking them up into about an hour each into two sessions and having that lunch in between. I know that did something because when you all came back for the second session, it was like, yoo-hoo! It was the applause. I mean, you're all connecting with each other.
And that was because most of the filmmakers were in the second session. Like, I don't think anybody from any of the filmmakers from the first session were there.
There was, I think there was one there.
Oh, I think you're right. I think it was Jason for Help Wanted, right?
Yeah.
But everybody else was in the second session, and we had spent the hour of lunch bonding with each other. Yeah. So when we finally saw the names come up on the screen, we were all like, "Yes! Like you go, Matt Phillips!"
Yeah, it was such a fun experience, and the breaks and giving everybody breaks and things like that. I really enjoyed the success that everybody had, and like I said, I always feel awkward on the award ceremony. It's like I just want to leave that part out, but I know that people want that, I mean, that's the reason why they submit to a point, I think, is because everybody wants to hopefully win, but it's always an awkward thing for me because it's like I don't want it to feel like, oh, you're better than this, you're better than that.
I don't think.
I know. It's just a thing.
Yeah. I don't think you should feel that way. I think that all the filmmakers know, like, and are going to like that happens at the end of every festival, and like, it really was about the connections, or for me anyway, it was about the connections I made there. That I was just like, this was so fantastic.
I think for most everyone it was.
Yeah.
Everyone was very accepting of everything, and I don't think it's always like, oh, I wish I would have won, but of course, right? But at the same time, I don't really think anybody walked out of there. I mean, if they did, they didn't express it, right? But walking out of there feeling fulfilled, was that was part of my job that I hoped that I did right, where everybody walks out like a business, right? You were fulfilled. You met, I met the criteria that you were expecting, or maybe beyond. Beyond that. And if you left happy and you felt like you came out of there with more than what you came in, then I feel, really good about it. And I think for most people they did because, of what you were talking about earlier with the connections that everybody made. And then on top of it, here you are, you're like, hey, I'm going to go see, Ricky's wife performance, and, and see that there were many times during the festival when I did get to see you all connecting, laughing with each other, discussing things together. And that really, really, really made me happy. I love to be around people and surround myself with people who inspire each other. That is the most fascinating part of life. If you have groups of friends that you bring together and they inspire each other, there's just no better feeling.
And you really were the facilitator of that. Like you, like in like just the films that you chose and the, you know, like the environment that you set, it absolutely made all of us feel safe to chat and to get to know each other and to like venture outside of our own comfort bubble, you know?
I think we had a really good, we always have this really good group of people that connects with each other, but I can't know that that's going to happen until it does, you know? And every film festival, we've had people that really, you know, remember last year, you know, everybody connected very well during that. I think what happened.
And I was only there for one day last year.
Right?
And even in that day, I was like, oh, Caroline and James, they're great, you know, like, and Jennifer and like, Niles, like there were so many people that I met that I remember that I enjoyed, you know? So,
But I just think this year, what made it more was that there was more. There were more people there. There were more. And I think that's also good coming out of the pandemic where people are feeling more comfortable going to places. But I also think, Levi, that people are more choosy about the places where they do go to expose themselves.
Sure.
You know?
What do you mean?
Well, I just mean we're in a time, so there's so many things happening in the world, you know? There's leftovers from the pandemic. You know, there are still people that are afraid to, you know, get COVID because it's not completely gone.
It's not.
And there are people, and I respect that with people. You know, remember there were a couple people there that were wearing masks.
Yeah.
You know? And so, but they felt completely comfortable.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is a world that we're in. And then there's the whole political and, you know, the way some people are treating each other on social media and things like that.
Yeah.
That did not play into what is happening at our film festival, you know, at our event. And I felt like people coming together and being able to choose places and say, okay, I know that I'm going to feel safe here, that I'm going to be comfortable here. I'm not sure if I will there, you know, and I think people are becoming more choosy. Really, I don't know how else to say that, but they're picking different events in a way with different criteria, you know what I'm saying, than they were before the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, also, I think the intimacy of the festival might lend itself to people feeling safer to be vulnerable, because it is vulnerable to share those things, you know?
Especially art.
Yeah. So I think like it like, I don't know, it feels intimate. It feels inviting and it feels open. And it doesn't feel like I don't know. Cold and prissy and caviar and, you know, like,
Which I was just kidding. There's no way.
I know. That's why I brought it up.
I think it was great. And your film was very well accepted. And I think for a lot of the filmmakers, I think they expected your film to win. You did get, it was.
Oh, I did not expect my film to win.
I know you didn't. And to be quite honest with you, I couldn't I would have to flip a coin on it myself because I couldn't tell, you know.
I mean, everybody was crying at the end of the other feature. So like, including me.
Yeah.
Like it was,
but there's so much, see, the judges, because the judges that I select are professionals, right? So they're not looking at just one thing.
Sure.
And when you're watching a film, because you're watching a film and you're feeling all this emotion, you're going, oh, well, that's a winner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When it's more than that, when you're rating it, it's kind of like Mr. Sneed. He would grade our projects and he would say, you know, I'm grading you on so many different things that come together to make what the industry expects. Not just one thing. And he said, you might love, you know, so-and-so's project and you may love your own project, but that's not how I grade you. And I found that out
Sure.
my own way. In the end, he always gave me an A, but he would grade me so low in between everything. And
well, it pushed you
he
probably.
really did. And one time I whined. I was like, "Why do you do this, Mr. Sneed?" And he said, "Well, you are working in the industry already, in video production anyway. So you should know these things. So I'm going to grade you harder."
Okay.
And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, but like, I feel, it's embarrassing
Well,
in the class,
Yeah.
But he pushed everybody, all the students. And I think most of the students loved him because of it,
That's cool. Yeah.
And,
that's nice.
and so for the judges on the films, I can see, clearer now why they chose one over the other, even though it was a close call, there were a lot of elements to your film. Again, the production value on your film was way up there because of all the elements that you brought together.
Well, thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate that.
Yes.
And I appreciate that they were noticed because of the amount of work and stress that went into that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you watch any film, you're going, well, look at what they had to do.
Yeah.
Look at the location. And then look at that location. And they had to, I was thinking about this today. You guys were all over this house.
Yeah, we were there. I think there's one room we did not go in, and it was her home office.
Yeah.
And that's where we stored
it was the green
film
room,
equipment,
right? Basically.
The green. Yeah, I mean, it was basically our green room. Yeah, it was our production room. Yeah.
Yeah.
And otherwise, every single room in that house, every square inch of that house was used.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, within a scene, you're going from one. It's mind-boggling because I've been to many film sets where we're shooting in the kitchen today, so the rest of the house was like a mess, basically.
And that was like, I mean, we did have that. We had like days where we would shift our mess from one room to the other because like we had those long walkthroughs where she's walking through the house and or running through the house from some demon, and so like that also like. We used because we own a pretty decent sized light kit, or I own a pretty decent sized light kit, but that I've acquired over the years. But like there were some days that every light was on because we created that moonlight. So it was like we had to put lights outside, we had to have lights inside so we could see. So it was just like it was like. There were days that I'm like, man, if we had like 2 more light kits, this would be so much easier. So, yeah.
It was. So when you start to think about all those things, together, you're going, wow, you really had to maneuver a lot to pull this through. And you did a great job at it. The performances were good too.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you and the entire team, Levi.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything that you'd like to? I do want to talk about something. The audio, because you did have to do some ADR after, right?
Yes. Could you tell?
Well, let me put it this way. The audio did not deflect. Like, in other words, you're not paying attention to the audio going, I guess I'd like to know how they did the audio. It was more like so natural, like any movie you're watching on Netflix.
Excellent. I will say that was hours and hours of work with the audio. And it was just like recording the same lines over and over and over and then matching them up and make sure they match. And if like it's even a hair off, delete, let's start again, So it was like, because again, we're very indie. We don't have like a quick setup where you could just record, move, delete. Like I have to slide every single one into place to make sure it fits. And if it doesn't, we get rid of it,
Yeah.
So it was painstaking, but, and then, you're rebuilding the sound of nature for the outside shots. So, and you have to be in that same emotional space that you were on the day. So it's very hard to do. And I'm grateful that that it appears how you said it did, because
when you don't stop to think about it, when you're watching a movie and you don't have to stop and think about it and wonder something, or calling out to you, that's a good thing.
I also appreciate that just because I do still hear it. I do still see it as off, but that's because I know what it was on the day. And so like, and I'm a perfectionist. I'm like, I mean, I made the joke while I was there, but there are still things that when I watch this film, I'm like, oh, I could cut that. Oh, I could change this. And at this point, it's been in festivals. I probably shouldn't be, you know, changing it, but and I haven't.
Yeah, I think there comes a
Yeah,
point. It's like I would say when I was a graphic artist, right? The only time I was completely done with it was when they said, you know, here's the final
yeah,
deadline. It's like, okay,
yeah,
fine, I'm
yeah,
done with it. You
yeah,
know, but you can always build on it. I wouldn't say improve or anything like or fix things. I would say it's an art thing where you're always
yeah,
building on from something, which is usually what happens when you go to your next project. You're
yeah,
building onto, because in the end, you've got a legacy now. You've
yeah.
left this legacy. This is done. No more suffering through the production.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. There's so much of being in production that I love.
Yeah.
And I'm in therapy and I talk to my therapist about it every week. I feel most alive
The challenge.
when I'm working on something, you know, something creative.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, you have to love the challenges.
yeah,
If being challenged doesn't feel good to you and it scares you,
then don't be a filmmaker.
yes, my God,
Yeah.
you're in the wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
wrong profession if you don't want to be
Yeah,
challenged.
this is the one where, and I learned this from my very first film set. When there was a problem, everybody just
Yeah.
comes in filled with
Yeah.
creativity. Okay, and super excited. We're gonna
Yes.
fix it. I'm like, wait, is this like the best part
Troubleshooting.
of the movie making part? Is like
Yeah.
when there's a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it ends up being like happy accidents.
Yeah.
Like in our movie, there was a moment that happens where when Allison wakes up in her car in front of the church and then she drives away to go back to her house.
Yeah.
There's a moment where just as I start because I was behind the camera, as I started panning up to show the top of the church, another car came in and honked at her. And it was such a happy accident just because it fit the moment of her rushing to get home, and then almost getting in a car accident. I think we did 2 takes of that, and I was like, no, we're using the one with the horn because it's just such a happy accident. So yeah.
Yeah, there's so many things that happen like that. It's so great.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah. So I can expect that you guys are coming to the next film festival. Even if you don't have a film, you're coming, right?
Well, I would love to, but I also, one of my crew, Hector, who I talked a little bit about, he was so inspired that he keeps he's been messaging me, and he is working on some scripts and he might want to shoot something. Yeah. And so I was like, heck, if you go, I will be there. So yeah.
That's pretty awesome. That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy. You know, it's just like this podcast itself, for our listeners, you know, some of them, Levi, they're people that we know, they're part of our community.
Yeah.
And, you know, the job of this podcast is to inspire people and to, because knowing how this works and knowing, you know, how people can make movies with the phone that they have in their own hand, literally right now, is special. It just this is a part of the industry that is completely, as much as, you know, you watch these movies and you're going, yeah, you know, that's a great film, like any other film that I watch, you know. But the thing is that this is what's different, is the fact that the person who's watching a film just because they're watching a movie has a camera that is their phone.
And the capabilities of making their own movie. Yeah.
And like I tell people a lot in my workshops, and I've done that for years, is say, until you get behind this and you start making it, you don't realize what you know. already.
Yeah.
That's ingrained in your DNA from growing up watching movies.
Yeah.
You know? And
it's fun to discover through the process and discover your own voice as a creator.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like when you're, coloring, or not so much coloring, but when you're drawing and coloring your own work, right? As opposed to coloring books. And you're putting colors together and drawing things, and you're building on top of things and extending things. And you're going, whoa, look at what I'm creating. And it's the child, the little kid in you that comes out through that creativity. And we always have it. We'll have it till the day we die, no matter how old we are. I think people who are artists it's not like, oh, you're so special because you're an artist. I just think that they inspire the artist inside all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. And inspire the child in all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's important.
Yeah.
It's important. There's there's life, got to make a living and all these things. But hey, if you can be passionate about the work that you do, then you're not really working.
Yeah.
And Levi, the one thing that I wish for you is that this is all that you could do, because not only would it inspire others, but you inspire yourself on top of that, but because you're bringing things into the world that will be there forever, even, literally forever, just like all the other filmmakers and movie makers out there who aren't with us anymore.
Yeah. I have a close friend who actually said the same thing to me recently, and I think it sort of opened my eyes to the fact that I now have like a feature. I mean, this is my second feature, but this is like, I'm so proud of this one. So I have a feature that like will live on longer than me. And so it's sort of it's a really, it feels good to feel like I'm leaving, a part of me behind, I guess, because I don't have children. So yeah.
But this is better than children, Levi. What can I say?
Oh my gosh, this is so much better than kids. It doesn't cry. It doesn't force me to feed it.
And for the record, I love children. I love puppies. I love kitties. I love children. I love all animals,
I do too.
except for snakes. I don't care for snakes. I know. I'm just you can leave the snakes out. I'm not saying I don't, that I would kill them or anything. I just don't want to touch them.
Yeah.
I don't want them around me. Have you seen snakes on a plane? I don't think so. No, thank you.
Yeah.
So on the note of snakes.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think we should kind of wrap this up. What would be one thing out of all the things that you experienced in making your film, that you would say to people, this is one thing that you don't want to miss out on? Don't forget this.
Like a piece of advice for be flexible. Be open and acknowledge that sometimes what you have planned may not be the best way to make it happen. And so be willing to ebb and flow and figure and troubleshoot, and figure out, like you were saying, like it's fun when those moments happen and everybody suddenly is like, how can we solve this problem? So be open to that. Yeah.
All right. Say goodbye to our listeners.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Susie, and goodbye, everybody.